with a warrant of trade. I assume everyone got most of what was necessary. So what we're going to do is build the warrant of trade. If you want to open up the Rogue Trader into the Storm expansion on page, if I can get a page number on this page, 34, there is the path. So it's a very similar path to what you created for character backgrounds. And each of them has essentially role-playing sort of issues and then mechanical benefits as well. So I'll kind of go through them briefly and let you guys kind of, if you want to go, I'm going to assume we're going to go top-down, and then if you have questions of like, oh, what does that mean if we go to this versus that, I can kind of give you the rundown. The first choice you're going to have to make is which age of the Imperium would your warrant have been granted? The Age of Rebirth was essentially right after what was called the Horus Heresy, which was a huge civil war within the Imperium that was eventually won out. And at this point, if your warrant was signed during the Age of Rebirth, you get 12 ship points and 10 profit factor points. Do not use this as it's literally like anti-beneficial. If you take a high number on this one, it'll be a low number as your options for the next one, etc. So it does all balance out. So choose what you think is interesting, I guess, or what you would foresee your warrant or your house being, your particular dynasty. So the Age of Rebirth, your warrant may have been signed by literally someone who physically met the Emperor. Like, it's that old. Like, you are like super old money. You are the folks who, you were given a warrant of trade so far back that, you know, one of the fucking generals who led this giant rebirth of humanity had signed it. You get ship points of 12, profit factor of 10. You get an archaeotech component for your ship in that case, because it's a very relatively old warrants. You'd have been around for a very, very long time. Your family line would go back like thousands of years. The Age of Rebirth then went into the forging, which was essentially basically consolidating. So the Age of Rebirth was like a huge expansion, and then the forging was basically solidifying the position of humanity. So during this time, you'd be basically trying to establish colonies and planetary systems in service of the Empire. So you get ship points of 10, profit factor of 8 in that case. The Age of Apostasy, I don't know how that's pronounced. Apostasy. Let's say apostasy. That sounds good.
I'll pronounce it as however you pronounce it.
I'm going to go apostasy.
Never
mind. Which was essentially another fucking, basically a high lord in the higher echelons in Terra basically revolted and tried to stage a coup. So in this case, it's like huge turmoil. Eventually, he was put down and overthrew him, and overthrown. So during the Age of Apostasy, very chaotic times, and you may or may not have been, I would say, on the winning side per se. Anyone could have been on either side of that fight in that case. The Age of Redemption was kind of the second coming after the Age of Apostasy. In this case, it was really basically trying to retake and reconsolidate lands that revolted during the previous age. And so this was basically like crusades, putting down heretics and such. So this was more of the like, yeah, we're going to take back what was ours type of age. And then finally, the most recent age is the age of is the waning, which again, as with all things, it's basically we took a bunch of shit over, we fortified it, there was turmoil inside, we struck that down, people came around to reconsolidate and take back what's ours, and then we finally took it back, but we're still so big. The waning is basically now small-scale alien skirmishes have basically turned into, fucking just full-scale wars. There's somewhat more chaos being bred within, with various worlds, and the imperium is somewhat, falling apart is probably too extreme, but definitely in decline, having a hard time maintaining what they had retaken essentially in the previous age. And essentially, basically, your profit factor and your ship points go down in each age that you progress toward the most recent times. So rebirth, forging, apostasy, redemption, and the waning is the most recent. You get the lowest profit factor and ship points, but you also, as a newbie, have more chance to make a name for yourself and get more benefits versus an old money type of thing who has very little growth in some of the next stages. Do you guys want to talk about those ones? Have questions?
I kind of like the forging myself, being the rogue trader, to be kind of like part of that second wave of expansion and all that kind of stuff. Now, you guys don't have to go with that. That's fine, but it sounds like an interesting.
No, honestly, this is, in this regard, I'd go with however old you want your house to be. Yeah. But, I mean, that sounds like a cool one to me.
Yeah. So basically, the second is basically the Age of Redemption is like crusades to take back after the coup. Were you talking the forging, which was consolidating after the first expansion of humanity, or redemption?
The forging.
Okay. So the forging is like everything expanded, and then you basically they were like, fuck, we got to like secure this shit. So that's the forging. So that would be ship points 10, profit factor 8 in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys, I'm more than happy for you guys to talk about. That's fairly old. Like that would be very, I would say, respected, and potentially you would even have some access to, folks from like the Adeptus Terra and shit. Like that's pretty old. That's about if you stayed on the side of the Imperium, you'd be fair. I mean, there's only a few rogue traders that'd be older than you. In that case.
Well, maybe we don't want to be. The way you're making it sound, I don't know if we want to be that old now.
Well, I'm just saying, out of 5 ages, that's age 2. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's number 2.
Yeah.
The Age of Redemption would be 4. So if you wanted that one, you're essentially saying after people tried to rise up against the Imperium, we went out and took back what's ours. That's kind of the redemption side.
What do you guys think?
Well, if you go apostasy, then you're one of the rebels in that time of upheaval then, right? Is that what that would be?
Maybe.
Or
you're not necessarily a rebel. You could have been granted by the other side.
Yeah.
But it's not
It's more of a gray area time where anything goes.
Yeah, so some people were basically found as heretics and others weren't. So it's kind of like all hell broke loose. So maybe you were overlooked, maybe you were a traitor, maybe you were on their side, but people may not be entirely sure.
Well, we have a mission.
All in.
I think that kind of sounds interesting, just in terms of a backstory perspective. And for you, John, being able to kind of come up with this weird, because all the other ones are like, I've been well respected for generations, whereas this you could be like I'm the first, or like my dad did this or something like that.
Right.
Like you could literally have been like your family could have been practically anything up until that point. Just kind of happen to survive it.
Right. Well, same thing with Age of Redemption, right? Especially with a missionary on the ship. We could be part of that great crusade. Having the missionary kind of fits that sort of bill. And you were on a black ship, so that could have come out of the age of apostasy. Like maybe you're that old. Because you don't live like normal human age. Like, you could be hundreds of years old.
Yeah, people are hundreds of years old. Like the technology lets them live for a very long time. But these are like thousands of years per age.
Oh, that's true.
The age of apostasy, by the way, just so you know, some people will try to hide the fact that that's where their warrant is from. Because people might be suspect of your motives. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think that's good or bad. I think that could have other interesting implications. So, I'm not trying to sway you. I just want to let you know that it's kind of like gung-ho, super old, helping kind of build the Imperium as number 2. Then it's like full on, who knows what the fuck's happening, all hell broke loose. Number 4 is like really like on a mission, like crusade style belief. We are going to take back what was rightfully ours. And then the waning is like you're new, and maybe it's an effort to try to keep the glory of the Imperium. Right.
Well, me and Bessie are both zealots, then redemption would probably be a good way to go if John agrees with that.
Yeah, I'm open. That's fine by me.
Okay.
Yeah, apostasy could lead to some maybe more interesting.
You'd be like the
backstory ramifications. You know what I mean?
One person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. You can go with that one. If you go with the apostasy, you can play both sides, or you don't know.
Yeah.
If you're on the winning side, then you're the good guy. If you're on the losing side, you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot of that.
They both have interesting role play perspective. I could see either. I could go with either. So what's the rest of the vote look like?
My personal vote is for what was it? Is it
apostasy?
4?
4 is redemption. Upheaval is 3. That's apostasy. Redemption is the crusade.
For 3 for apostasy.
Yeah, I agree with Jesse on that one.
Okay, apostasy it is. John, you're outvoted.
Interesting. All right. I think that's an interesting. I think that has a lot of. It has a lot of opportunities. Just because you may be less. May or may not. Maybe that means you're trying to make up for something, right? So
we have to watch our back.
Yeah, like you have to watch your back. You may want to be more secretive about where things came from, but at the same time, maybe you're like, we were on the side of the Imperium, and we aren't traitors. We were one of the true chosen, right? So that's an opportunity as well. So that does limit your choices. Age of Apostasy, you have several options of basically your status, your fortune and fate as of right now. Are you ascending, which basically means, right, on the rise, you're kind of up and coming, You're going to get additional ship points and profit factor for that. Stable is much more, what you consider kind of like status quo. Things aren't entirely, it's not good or bad, right? You're doing well, but you're not like killing it. Or you could be struggling, which is, you're on hard times. So you may have resources that dried up. Maybe someone encroached on your territory. Maybe someone was granted a warrant of trade that then ends up, competing against you. So that would be your call. Do you want to be on the upswing, on the downswing, or middle of the road?
Only because I think that that struggle and turmoil make for a good story. I vote for struggling, or whatever it was.
Yeah, so struggling is could be disaster, could be incompetence, could be external factors, could be someone encroaching. Maybe an alien invaded a territory that you just retook. Maybe you invested too heavily in one side of the operation and it didn't pay off. So the rewards for that are relatively lower, but then, of course, later you get additional... You get better stuff as that goes along. So there's no wrong choice, again.
Sure. Well, stable would be boring, I think, overall.
Yeah. So the question is, I think stable, my opinion, would be boring because, again, it's just meh. Ascending would mean you have something to prove because you got to maintain and expand, or you would have to do struggling, which means you have to like turn your shit around, basically.
Damn it! You hit a key with me because one of my points is pride. so you might have swayed me over to rising.
I was going to agree with you on struggling just for the role play aspect, because it helps to write the story then, right? So like it could be that, like Neil said, maybe we just lost a mining colony, or maybe just aliens took something over. So the beginning of the adventure, not to write your game, could be that we're in the process,
buddy.
Yeah, and we could be in the process of trying to either reconquer, or maybe we're regrouping. Maybe this is months down the road where we're like, all right, we need to get our shit together, and we're trying to lay groundwork, and we have to do acquisitions and networking to sort of kind of get us back to where we were. I mean, ascending is good too, right?
Let me give you some perspective on the universe as a whole. Is that you were in imperial space, and what opens up is called the Coronis Expanse. A warp disturbance essentially opens up an entirely new set of star systems. Basically, imagine you can go to a bunch of different galaxies that you could never go to before. Completely unexplored territory. That's what's currently happened. So there is a Port Wonder on the other side of the Expanse, just like a foothold. Actually, Port Wonder may be on the Imperial side. I don't remember. And there's a foothold on the other side. That's just open territory. So you may want to think about, it seems like you guys are on one versus the other. Struggling may mean someone took over, or something happened to wipe out a good bit of your previous wealth or profits or whatever business empire you have going, and you're moving to the Cronus Expanse to try to take advantage of this newly open territory. Otherwise, maybe you're a rising star who has secured some very interesting opportunities and see the Cronus Expanse as a way to further that, but now people are gunning for you. So I don't think either is necessarily better role-playing. I think one may be you are the underdog trying to win versus you are on the up and up, and the old guard is trying to fuck you over.
I think I like that better.
Succeed.
Fuck the old
That would be ascending then. So that would be ascending then, right?
Yeah, so ascending would be you're the new you're the ones people are noticing. And people start being like, I don't like these guys. Like where do these fucking guys come from? Right? Like who do they think they are? And so I think it depends on how you want to play it, right? So I think there's pluses and minuses to each one. Just depends on whether you want to be underdog or rising star. I think either one equally interesting.
I think ascending. I recast my vote for ascending. Fuck the authority. Fuck the man.
Fight the power.
That's it.
I agree.
Other votes? What else we got? I think we should. I mean, it's up to you guys. You guys are the crew. You can have majority. You could have the rogue traders. It's up to you guys. But metagaming, I think you can choose rogue trader decides if at the end of a tie, or you guys all vote and see what happens. I like the idea of you guys.
I don't know. An agreement of the ascending.
You too, Kevin?
Yep, I agree.
John,
Okay.
are you good with that, or you've been silent through all this?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with ascending. That works for me.
I heard him. I got
Okay.
you, Bessie. I heard you.
What was that? 10 ship 8.
See, I'm just ignoring because I'm the rogue trader. It doesn't really matter.
So, I mean, I think it's an interesting... Okay, I'll give you my insights as we're kind of going along. I don't think it's going to influence anything per se. I do think that's interesting, right? Because Age of Apostasy was like this kind of... not shameful, but like people kind of want to hide it. Like, but now you're kind of like the black sheep. You came out of that age. Now you're doing a little too well. So that gives us some reason for people to be like, what's up with these guys? So I think that's an interesting choice. Personally, I think that's an interesting, right? Like, ooh, maybe they're doing too well. What are they doing? So I think that's a cool idea for me, at least. Acquisition. Let's see. This is how you got your warrant. Your options from ascending. Blackmail, pretty clear. You somehow have something on someone in a position of authority, and you say, "I want this," or else I'm going to reveal insert whatever. The other ones are prize of... So blackmail is not by service, but you're basically like, hey, I'm going to fuck you over. Then you have prize of war, which is in this case, basically you are given this as incentive to take on a crusade. I'm going to give you a warrant of trade if you take over this system. So basically, the option is either you were, in the case of prize of war, you were either given it as an incentive to do something you may either otherwise not have, or you became so powerful in the military that they couldn't say no to you because you could have just taken what you wanted. It's sort of the... If you get that kind of logic. And then the other option...
Basically, might as well have said yes, because if we said no, then he would have just stolen the ship anyway.
Yeah, like, if you say no, I'm just going to take this battle fleet and do what I want. But not this ship, like battle fleet. Like, you're so powerful, you're like, give me what I want, or I destroy, like, half your systems, right? Like, something crazy. And the other one is Ministorum Bequest, which is the ecclesiarchy, which is the word I was trying to remember. The ecclesiarchy is the name for, like, the church. Doesn't have the ability to give out a warrant of trade. However, they do have a lot of influence. So they can, in some way, manipulate the system or request that certain people, the ecclesiarchy's most influential members, may be able to influence the Adeptus Terra to bequeath a warrant of trade on someone who's, you know, motivated by the church to do what they see fit, aka purge heretic / alien / whatever else they don't like, which is those things. So those are your options. So it's either the ecclesiarchy granted it, you are given it as an incentive to, say, undertake a crusade or a campaign against a certain system, and or became so powerful you could basically say, give me that or else, or you blackmailed somebody. And it's basically the choice between ship points versus profit factor, basically.
Well, and now just purely for story, it would really suck for Kynok to be on an ecclesiarchy ship.
Well, I was going to say.
However,
sorry, go ahead.
With Kevin and Bessie's characters on the ship, who are very devout, I think that would be very interesting and make the most sense.
Well, I think if John doesn't mind the fact that he has a ship, you know, we have the Holy Ghost power. I think that's the way to go with Bessie and I, but I don't know how far back. You know, if it's a newer, you know, the Warrant looks like it's older. Has it always been kind of driven by that?
But maybe maybe there's always a strong church ecclesiarchy presence on said ships.
Yeah.
Because of that warrant.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can't
not do it, but
you could not. Other members, for instance, the rogue trader, could be persuaded to do it. At the end of the day, the ecclesiarchy doesn't matter because they have no influence over the warrant once granted. They're hoping, maybe they were very devout beforehand. Maybe John isn't devout. Maybe Venari isn't devout. Maybe Kynok has convinced him, you know, maybe he wasn't particularly devout anyway, and Kynok says, this is a bunch of bullshit. Like, why the fuck are we beholden to these fucking assholes? You never know, right? So, like, what you choose as the history doesn't necessarily mandate what you do now, but I think it would certainly influence, number one, how NPCs address you. For instance, you may be better thought of by the ecclesiarchy than normal, and maybe it would give a reason for them to have put particularly zealous folks on your ship, versus I think all the other ones are equally fine. I don't think there's a reason not to pick them. So I don't want you to say...
no.
I don't want you to think I'm swaying one or the other, but I do think either any of the three is doable, but I also don't want you to think if you pick the Ministorum Bequest that it mandates everyone acts as a zealot.
No, well, so one quick question is how far back does the Warrant go in respect to the rest of the crew?
Oh, like
do
no one. So at the age of apostasy, 0 people.
Okay.
Like it would have been generations ago. Like that was thousands of years ago.
So theoretically, we could be a somewhat newer crew just attached to this Warrant now.
Yeah, no 0 people on the ship today even knew a grandparent who was alive during the time you're Warrant.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, it's really far removed. Like, there were probably... It would have been like, like today, if your Warrant would have been granted like in the Civil War. You would have been so far removed. So, and imagine that and everyone lives 200 years. So, like, it's really far. So, if you imagine, like, you picked 3 out of 5, right, on the scale. If you picked 1 out of 5, that would have been, like, fucking Greece. Like, ancient Greece or Egypt. That would have been so fucking far ago that no one could even conceive of the idea. So it is a very long time ago, no matter what you thought. Yeah.
So we could do where if you pick ecclesiarchical, then it's Jernan and I pushing against the other 2 because we know the history of the Warrant. Or if we go prize of war or blackmail, that's overriding it. But then our 2 characters want to get it back to the whole, ecclesiarchical apostasy.
Yes, yeah, so I would say ecclesiarchical. The ecclesiarchy bequest would be interesting in that you may know that's how it was granted, and so you are there as agents, not agents as in like subversive or anything, but like you're there because because
of the history of it.
Yes, they want you to spread. Because they believe in it, the teachings of the ecclesiarchy. Whereas if you did prize of war or blackmail, there are still fully ecclesiarchy members assigned to these ships, like 100%.
So John, not to write your backstory for you, but at the same time, I know you're kind of looking for the Warrant to almost do that. I think if we do go with the Ministorum, I think it would be interesting if, say, like, up until this point, the ship has kind of been, like, on this ecclesiarchy path. Like, it's, like, spread the word of the God Emperor, and, like, this is what we've been doing. Up until now they're not entirely sure. So that's why they've kind of stacked the deck with these, for all intents and purposes, these very devout people, just to kind of keep an eye on you and make sure that the ship still continues to go in that direction.
Well, I was leaning towards the Ministorum, just because blackmail doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would work with the story that we're developing. Prize of War potentially, but I figured because of Bessie and Kevin's backstory, I thought that the ecclesiarchy would probably be the best. And it would be interesting. And even though they might not like you, they still need you. Like, they can't do anything about it, because without a navigator, you don't go through the war. So
exactly.
You are...
Yeah, well, I mean, if they probably don't like me anyway. But.
Right.
Well, and I think I'm tied to Jesse because I need to get back to his ship that he needs to get back to, because there's a reason I need to get back to it. So I'm tied to him just for that reason. So even though we're coming at it from different ways, I think we're still trying to get to the same spot.
Right. Yeah, no, so we'll go with that one, because I like that, and it brings you guys back into it as well. And yeah, it could be something that, at the time in that age of apostasy that, they're trying to, solidify that foundation. And, we were on the side of the emperor, and, my grandfather's grandfather, whatever, we're all in it for the emperor. And it's been diluted over the thousands of years. So now it's like, whatever. Like, we're going out there, who gives a shit?
Which I looked at your sheet a little bit, and I know that there is kind of that slight corruption in your line as well, so that would play in really well with that too, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All
so
right,
I think that's where we're at.
Probably the most interesting choice. I think it's always interesting to have an ideological choice, right? Because then
I think it's interesting that every single choice we've made so far, Neil, you've been like, that's an interesting one, okay?
I mean, I like the idea because it gives me something to do. Like, it gives me you haven't chosen, I'm a fighter, I swing a sword, and I was a fighter who grew up fighting. And it's like, well...
I'm an orphan, by the way.
Like, okay, what do I do with that? So I like the idea that there are strong choices that can influence other people's perception of the group, which I think is interesting. Which I like. I feel like it's strong choices. I feel like it's strong role-playing choices that give me somewhere to go with a campaign beyond just make money and stuff. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that can happen.
Well, and it sets it up too, right? So for Bessie's character and Kevin's character, there can be that animosity between, the players, where it's like, I'm going to go do this thing, and they're like, that's probably not really a good idea, and the Emperor wouldn't approve, and be like, okay, so we won't do that, but then go do it anyway. And then when we get there, they're like, we said you shouldn't do that. Like, well, we're already here, so yeah, next time we'll.
Yeah.
So Dave's character would be the deciding vote, or John's character would be the deciding vote because he's a rogue trader. So,
but
so he is leaning more towards the devotion side, I think.
In a completely different fashion, though. The
tech priest.
Yeah, they have a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
To the emperor.
Yeah, the tech priests are kind of like, we don't give a fuck about the emperor as a deity per se. They really worship technology. So if you've played Fallout, they're very much the Brotherhood of Steel. They're like, we're going to take technology and make it the best resource for humanity. Regardless of even if it's alien. So, right, let me put it this way. If the Ecclesiarchy got a hold of alien technology, they would burn it. 100%. Put it in an incinerator. But the Adeptus Mechanica would say, we must study this because its power may give us an advantage against the alien forces. One thinks it's evil no matter what. The other thinks it could be useful as a resource for humanity. So one believes entirely in technology and the other believes entirely in an ideology.
And they're super secretive too. Like, they have their own home world. Like, nobody goes there. It's like, we're doing our shit. Get the fuck out.
A lot of people cannot replicate the things the Adeptus Mechanicus do. Like the Imperium itself, the Adeptus Terra would not know entirely some of the things the Adeptus Mechanicus knows, nor would they know how to create certain levels of tech priest who are so advanced that essentially they just hope that they don't go rogue, basically. They're like, well, they are given access to all this shit we get, so we have a fairly good understanding. But at the end of the day, the Adeptus Mechanicus knows shit that they do not tell the administrative / congressional unit of humanity.
And that's that they're on Mars, right? Isn't that what that is?
Yeah. Mars is essentially all tech priest forges. They call them forges, but yeah. So your options for what you're known for. So one is a crusade in the Calixus sector, where essentially, worlds had been, unloyal, and you go in and fight alongside of the military and conquer the sector. That's kind of the crusade. The Maritech Wars is another option, which is similar but less humane. Essentially, everything was eradicated. So it was a bunch of people who were unloyal and deemed heretics and had heretical technology from some cult, quote unquote, that needed to be wiped out. So anyone who participated in that is essentially known for obliterating the entire sector of anyone who may or may not be related to such. So one is like the first one is like a regular military campaign. Normal battle, blah, blah, blah. We fought some stuff. It was all on the up and up. We won. Huzzah. The other one's like, we glassed the entire fucking place. And then the other one was more of an economic, the fall of the Tellurian Combine. The Tellurian Combine was basically an economic entity who made a bunch of money from heretical activities, quote unquote, in the Cronus Expanse, and essentially a bunch of people were tied to that. And in this case, you could have been against them, but most likely you'd have been with them and made a bunch of money basically doing shit that the Imperium doesn't approve of. That eventually was kind of taken down by the Imperium. They were like, this is not acceptable. And the Ecclesiarchy said, like, this is heresy. They're using technology that's heresy and doing a bunch of shit that we do not allow. So you should stop them. So that's basically your three options in that case. So it's kind of normal crusade, honorable war, total annihilation of people in order to stop heresy, according to the Empire, or the Imperium, or you're maybe part of this group who, in the Calixus sector, had a bunch of influence and money from this particular economic activity that was then deemed heretical and shut down.
I think based on the way that we're going, I'd throw the last one out of hand. If the ship, we're going to say, and the crew and the Warrant sort of has the strong ecclesiarchical base behind it, if that's the way we're going to go. I think maybe the second one, the Maritech Wars, makes a little bit more sense story-wise then. So you have this, righteous crew that's going to going to bat for the Emperor, and, they go and they fucking kill all the heretics because that's what you do. Like, that would make complete sense. And then the first one kind of, it said that the Rogue Trader House can trace through to this period, is, supremely great, wield great influence. And I think that kind of is beyond the scope, maybe, of the way we've been discussing the way this house is. So I think that may be a little bit of an overreach. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think if you go with the other two, then it could tie it back if you want to throw a curveball to it and then get Dave more involved and go with the Adeptus Mechanicus, thinking a step ahead. If you go Meritech or the Crusade, since we're pretty much, church bound up till now, if you want to switch it up and go Adeptus and then to get Dave involved, or you can go with the Missionaria in the next step. So I would say either Meritech or the Crusade.
So I was actually kind of leaning towards the fall of the Tellurian Combine, because I was thinking that people with no faith are harder to convert than people with a lot of faith, because if you have a lot of faith in one thing, you'll have a lot of faith in another thing if you're converted. And it could be the reason why they have such strong religious figures on the ship now, is to make certain that there are no people involved with that cult on your ship. That, it was never proven that this ship was part of the cult, but, they just want to make certain that it never was and that it's still not part of the cult now.
That makes sense, because then if there is some sort of question in the age of apostasy whether they were apostate or not, and then here they find themselves in this, this situation that, casts a further dispersion towards the house to be like, are they, aren't they? So, that could work tue. And then that could work. I was going to say that would work Dave too then. Hold on. What did you mean? 1 second. That could work in Dave too, being the explorer, because if they were using alien technology, that could be something that, his line was interested in, acquiring this technology or whatever. I mean, it could be a little bit of a hook for Dave's character. I'm done.
Just so I wanted to double check and read a little more. So the fall of the house, the Tellurian Combine, the Tellurian Combine was actually run by a cult who was in cahoots, let me use that term because I don't have a better term, with a chaos demon. And so it is fairly it's not thought of well if you made your money off profits from insights gained from a chaos demon. So it's a question of, your question would be whether you were just doing it for profit and didn't know about it, or whether you were actually knowingly engaging in super heretical shit. Maybe less RP jive with kind of what you typically have done.
So if we take it to what Bessie was saying, if we go to the Meritech one, then it's it's either one or the other. There's no gray area. It's either black or white. Because if we go back,
yeah, I mean it's less.
Well, we could have been one of the rogue traders against the Tellurian Combine.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, we could, maybe we're trying to prove ourselves against the alleges of apostasy during that age. Be like, no, we'll get in on that because, hey, we're all for the Emperor, woo, and make some money along the way. But
yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Originally, I was leaning. My first guess was going towards the second one, where we just basically, there's that history of just going in and destroying people, because I think it gives the ship and everything a very interesting feel of the intimidation of that ability for that, but at the same time that history of like almost that taint that we can do that but they actually did it, good thing or not. But I am now leaning towards the third one because I kind of like how it ties a lot of little factors from everybody. You know, we have kind of the wealth and power and possibly the origination of the with not quite true means, but now the means of whatever that house wants to spit it into, because you can basically write your own history at that point. And then there's the kind of religious aspect. Well, I'm interested in this chaos demon you speak of. No reason.
I would say that the house is probably not even probably. I would say they were not a part of worshiping some fucking warp demon. I would say if you
could not know that, right? You may not be in the entire, like, you may have just profited from. It could be a guilty by association, right?
I'd be okay with that.
But you could also say, there are people, it does say you could have fought literally against them as part of the Inquisition. So that's another option. Or anywhere in between.
So are we leaning towards the third one then?
I'm kind of fine with either the second or the third one at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the third only because Bessie spun an interesting story for me.
Well, it throws. The only reason why I was leaning towards the third one a lot because, like you said, Jesse, there's like a lot of little things, like the fact that our navigator looks totally like a fucked up demon, and that your missionary has a lot of like knowledge about heresy and shit to like. Kind of you put a missionary with a lot of knowledge about heresy to go onto a ship that you're not quite certain if they had shit to do with heresy or not. So he'd be able to spot anything that was kind of a little fucked up on the ship. So
right, I think it's not so much that they have, like, your guy could be there not so much because they have doubts about the house involved with the warrant, but more so that they want to keep an eye on the ship itself.
Yeah. Also, hi, Dave.
Hey, how's it going?
Dave!
How's it going, guys?
Good. Your volume's a little up if you want to adjust down.
God damn it.
Shocker.
How about now?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right, yeah, freaking Hangouts loves doing that to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, so you want to do your character introduction now, and then we can, I guess pull it and stick it on the front end. That way you're with everybody.
Well, here's the thing. I actually got to talk to you guys real quick about something.
He's not ready.
No, so, to make a long story short, I actually had a 4-hour one-on-one meeting with my boss today. And one of the results of which is that I am no longer in charge of making the schedule. So I can no longer guarantee my availability to play.
Dave!
So I will not know definitively until Wednesday. So as of right now, like, I don't want to commit to playing this and like then have to bow out later. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to like have me be on like a hiatus for the time being and like not have me involved right away. And then if I can finagle it, bring me in later. Would you guys be okay with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's potentially fine. Does it look like you would maybe be working every Monday, or is it just kind of like the schedule is going to change from week to week sort of thing?
Looking forward, like my days off are going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays as opposed to Mondays and Fridays. Why that's changed in particularly, I don't know. We weren't able to finish our conversation because at the 4-hour mark, my boss had to run into the bathroom and puke. I'm not sure if it's because the conversation was getting so heavy or if because he just wasn't feeling well or what it was, but it was just a very interesting experience. But I should be able to have a definitive answer for you guys on Wednesday. But as of right now, it's not looking good for me.
Okay.
So I am going to leave it at that. I apologize emphatically. Unfortunately, this was a conversation that needed to happen, and the plan was for it to happen 2.5 weeks ago before I went on vacation, and he had his own meetings and other stuff to get tied up into, and it just wasn't able to happen until just today. So, yeah.
Sounds like fun. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
not so much.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we can leave you in the wings and see. If your schedule permits, then we can, always do character intros the next time that we play. And if it turns out that you're not going to be available, then
and that's it. Like, thankfully, I mean, it's kind of a weird way of putting it, but thankfully, if it had to happen, it happened today. So that we didn't get X amount of time in. And I know it's easy to kill off a character if need be. But I think it would be much better to start out with whatever dynamic you guys develop, and then just find a way to bring me into it if we can. But if not, that way nothing is hurt and everything can just progress the way it should.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm totally fine with. You're on a ship that's millennia old and dealing with crazy shit. So, as a tech priest, maybe you're dealing with emergencies. If you are able to make it for a particular mission, maybe you're on the ground crew. But otherwise, it's like I'm fucking making sure that we can get into the warp. So that's fine by me.
Awesome. All right. I really appreciate that, guys. And again, I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. Shit happens.
All right.
Hey, the real world trumps pretending to be a post-apocalyptic cyborg.
Which is exactly why the real world sucks so much.
I know. The real world's a real fucking bummer.
All right.
I'd rather be a fucking cyborg mechanic.
Right? All right, so with that being said, I will leave you guys to episode 0 and wish you all the best and let you guys know as soon as I can what's happening.
All right. Well, thanks for popping in.
Yeah, well, I figured something like this, I definitely wanted to do it, by lack of a better way of putting it, face to face. At least have you hear the explanation as opposed to me just typing something out and things being misconstrued. So, I just wanted to at least stop in and speak to you guys in person.
Nope, I appreciate that.
Awesome. All right, guys, have fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right, so we'll. I guess we can still stay with that option though, because it was.
I think it still ties everybody.
Somewhat ancillary to Dave's. Yeah. I think it would have provided a hook for Dave, but I think there's enough meat there for everybody else to kind of, and we can always work out exactly how, which side of that whole conflict that we were on, or that the house was on.
I think oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, that was it.
Yeah, no, I think it still provides a link for him if he is able to play for why his character. He could even make it so maybe his character kind of pushed to get on this ship for this specific reason.
Right. That works.
All right, so you're going to go with Fall of the Tellurian Combine?
Yes.
All right, that means your contacts options. Pretty straightforward. Pirates. They're pirates. Maybe you've met on the field of battle and convinced them that you're worthy to interact with, blah, blah, blah. A merchant house, powerful trade organizations. And then the Missionaria Galaxia, which is essentially a branch of the ecclesiarchy. That's basically your options from where you are at the moment.
Oh, let's see.
I think tying into the current, I think that the history of it is kind of the deviation from the path that we've been taking so far, which gives it the interesting backstory. But I think that the missionarium would be staying more on tap with its path.
Yeah, I think it does play into the direction that we've been going in. So my character has a pure underworld, which isn't pure pirates. So I think is actually a separate thing. I would not have a problem with pirates since it's all about profit. I would be leaning either profits or merchant house. Just in to kind of break that flow a little bit, to kind of change things up, so you could maybe see where, we've had this, root in, potential apostasy and, sort of, being involved with the church and then the emperor and stuff. And then maybe at that point you start to see that break a little bit to where, okay, now we're going after profit. Now we're looking out for us. But that, yeah, it's the emperor and that's cool and all, but like, we're out in the middle of fucking nowhere and I got to put some gas in this bitch and I got to feed these guys something other than, dead people. So
that could show the deviation in the line that the house has been taking, which is why they've tried to bolster the crew so much with the devout.
And why the old houses have such a problem with us actually ascending, that we're actually doing good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're so pissed off, because we have been dealing with pirates and, there's shady history, but we're still turning a pretty good profit and suck it.
Well, if you're going to go big, you might as well go big and go pirates then, because merchant house is just boring your trading. You might as well go pirates, right? So,
and pirates are always a good option.
Right.
Okay, we could definitely go pirates. And maybe what I'll do then, since we're not, if pirates is a pure talent, I can switch out underworld to that, because it's just part of character part of character creation. So I can easily swap that one out. I went underworld in character creation just for the fact of that sort of underworld, underhanded. We're in it for profit. Where can I make a quick buck? But that just as easily translates to pirates as well. So I can flip that for sure, and we can go in that direction.
Yeah, that works for me.
All right. So we are going pirates.
All right. If you're going pirates, that means you're required to take infamous as your warrant renown.
Infamous.
It's the only option.
All right.
Is ship point 6. Interesting, because this may be a pretty big boost to your profit factor. As far as infamous, let me see. Some rogue trader dynasties are known for all the wrong reasons. A house purged in the aftermath of the fall of Tolarian Compound, for example, might be held as an object lesson in the follies of dappling in things man should not fuck with. Other houses are known for ruthlessness and not regarded with any warmth. So, essentially, because you could play yourself as losers on the Tellurian Combine War, or you could just be known for doing what you need to do to get shit done in order to make money, because that's what you're meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like the A team.
That means your final profit factor is 50.
Actually, it's 51, because I have a +1 for my background.
Oh, you motherfucker. All right.
I would say suck it, but I don't want to anger the GM this early.
Yeah, so... Does anyone have anything else that adds to something? Like shit points?
I don't think so.
Otherwise, your shit points are...
Doubt it.
Your shit points are 42.
Oh!
I think that's pretty average.
Oh,
Yeah.
that cuts out a couple ships on our thing already.
Yeah.
And I'm going to double check that pirates is a peer talent group. Although if not, Underworld, I guess would still work either way.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be close. I'd probably count them pretty similar.
It is not in the book, so I guess we'll stay Underworld. Unless you want to add it. I mean, I guess that's up to you.
I'll count it as Underworld. I think that's sufficient. All right, now that you got that, do you guys want to do the ship?
Sure.
Real quick, I have to go to the bathroom, but I'm just going to put you on the spot. So.
All right. Are we rolling back to the core book now for the ships?
Yeah, you're back on the core book.
All right.
All right, so if anyone's keeping track, because they're not in the audience, Age of Apostasy. So you guys were kind of in an age of turmoil when this warrant was granted. You are so far ascending, so out of said chaos, you've seemed to do better than the rest. How did you get your warrant? The Ministorum decided to lobby on your behalf in order to get your particular family access to a warrant of trade. And then you were part of the fall of the Tellurian Combine. Now, whether you were part of said trade who benefited from cult activities and, quote, heresy is to be determined. But since then, you have made significant contacts with people of ill repute, aka pirates of the in the Coronis Expanse or close enough area, and you are somewhat infamous. Whether people believe inappropriate that you were part of said cult and maybe potentially a pirate, to be determined. But you do not have a great reputation overall. That is how you ended up warrant-wise.
Is it 51 and 42, you said, right?
Yes.
That's correct. And so now it'll be up to you to pick what hall you want to start.
So now, are we going just core rulebook for holes?
You could pick any hall from any of the supplemental books as well to start. But we're using the rules for construction, but yeah.
Gotcha, yeah. All right, just because I'm looking, we did, I picked a few, Kevin picked a couple, and so we have, me and him just grabbed 5 total, and 4 of them are from the Coronis book, and 1 of them's from the Storm book. So we were only using 4, we'd be like, we'll delete that then.
Fine with all approved hall classes. As long as it's in one of the books that I have, that's a real book, you are more than happy to take said.
They are.
So yeah, you're full ready to go.
So I guess my only thing was if I'm driving, then I'm going to try to look for something with maneuverability, because then my agility plays into that. So I think that would be.
Well, I will.
25. Well, yeah, if you're the navigator, then I guess it will also be what we're thinking too.
Maneuver really has nothing to do. Yeah, navigator has no.
No, okay.
Nothing to do.
Okay.
He's literally
the Raiders
in another dimension. So engines and.
So that's just warp then, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He only does warp shit and fucks people up with mind-blowing alternate dimension experience.
The Raiders are going to give you the best maneuverability.
Yeah.
They're a little bit lighter than the frigates. The frigates are a little bit heavier armor. They're a little slower. They move a little slower.
So I think that's what you were saying before, frigate or raider, right? So I guess frigate might be a good way to go because you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, the sloop that's on the list, it's only got one gun. Its mass is low. It's relatively small. So if we're looking at moving cargo and things like that, or moving troops and stuff, I don't think that's going to give us a lot of availability. I think a galleon's a cruiser, which I don't.
Big.
Yeah, I think that's going to be too big.
You don't have enough ship points for that, so that's out.
I've been in love with the Viper Scout from like almost day one, only because it's tiny and fast and maneuverable.
Was that a sloop one, right?
But the Clipper is a fun one because if we're looking for more of a trader than a rogue aspect, I like the free cargo hold that it comes with.
You may one weapon. The sloop
just has one.
The sloop I wouldn't go
with. Might be okay,
the sloop is too small.
You probably want more than one weapon.
So it's the Clipper or the Destroyer.
Well, there's also the. What was that, Kev?
Yes.
Well, I said either Clipper or the Destroyer then, right?
Yeah, the Destroyer then it would be also good for the. It has still a really good speed, still awesome maneuverability.
Yeah.
A little more expensive, but
yeah, the Destroyer is
but it has two weapons.
Yeah, it has a pretty good option with the dorsal and prow. That helps for sure. Maneuverability is good. I mean, the sloop has a great detection, so you'll find shit.
Yeah, the Destroyer has a really low detection, whereas the sloop has
25.
You're able to kind of
there. I guess how much good does it do you if it's going to kick your ass? I don't know, unless you're going to run. I guess that's the question is balancing
as fast as possible.
So dorsal's on the top and keel's on the bottom, right? Is that where the weapons are?
Keel's on the back, right? Dorsal, prow's on the front. Keel might be.
Prow's on the front.
Yeah, so keel's underneath, right? Because you keel haul someone by dragging them.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming dorsal's the dorsal fin, right? So that's on the top.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I believe starboard is on the back.
Starboard would be the sides.
No, starboard's right, port's left.
No idea.
Yeah. Left is port. It's always an easy one to remember because it's the same amount of characters.
Yeah, you may be in raider territory no matter what, because frigates are about 40.
They're 40. Well, I'm looking in the book. The sword class is 40 and the tempest class is 40. So we could sneak right underneath.
I mean, to be fair, it probably makes sense in that if you're ascending, you're probably in a smaller ship than an established rogue trader. So you may be in better shape with a smaller ship, theoretically.
So we said frigate then, or?
Well, because I think an established rogue trader would probably be in a light cruiser, right? At least. So I think
the old rogue traders would be in like cruisers, light cruisers.
Much smaller than the. It's literally the smallest ship out there.
Which one, the Raider? Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's the shortest with the smallest crew.
Mm-hmm.
Smallest, lightest.
I think the Raiders give us a nice balance between speed, maneuverability. They have 16 armor as opposed to 19 for a frigate, so I mean that's not terrible. And the sword class only has 18, so you're not giving up a lot of armor. You've got 40 space, which isn't terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you start adding all your components, and you lose a lot of that right away.
So my only question is, I have the agility at 45, so I'm assuming that's actually maneuver. So what about ballistics and guns and stuff? Because mine's at 45 for ballistics too, so I don't know if I should pick one over the other. Who else is it going to do?
Well, so when you fly, so you're going to use your agility, and then you add the ship's
for the maneuverability.
I think. Yeah, so you're rolling pretty high on that. Ballistics would be
guns. Yeah.
If we had an arch militant, that would be his job in ship combat.
Yeah. Whoever has a weapons rating.
You have 39, is that what you said? Jesse or John, how about you?
My ballistics at 25.
Oh, so it's not you for sure.
Yeah, no. My weapon skill is a 40, but my ballistics is a 20.
The best you guys got.
Well, I have 35, but I think like a regular crew, like just a normal crew, I think is 35, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we could just have NPCs shoot the macro batteries.
That's true, and as a rogue trader, you can take your Inspire to get a +5.
+10.
Oh, is it +10? So you have a decent crew? You can actually buy up a better crew, though, to get 45.
Do that if we have the points to be able to do it in a heartbeat.
If you have the points, you should do that.
Yeah.
So I took ballistic at 45 just because I'm not that tough of a character. So if I've got ballistic at 45 and agility at 45, was one of those overstated maybe? I don't think I can drive and shoot it.
To be what you would use to fire the guns. You could fire guns, and John could give you a +10 to get you 55, which is pretty good.
So I can drive and shoot. That's my question. If I can do both, then I'll leave them. Yeah.
You could drive as long as you're not doing a maneuver.
Okay.
You could shoot. But if you're trying to evade or reduce your chance of getting hit, then that would be someone else having to shoot.
Well, then if John can boost it up the crew to 45, then that's a toss off anyways. Then there's no reason for me to drop. The only reason I put ballistic as 45 is because I'm not that tough of a character, and I wanted to shoot and not slice people. So
you may want to keep that for everything other than ship combat, where you probably want to shoot shit then.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I would keep that.
Okay.
I am trying to find, and I don't see it in here, the crew.
I'm pretty sure it's 35.
Yeah, it's 35, and then 35 is like the crappy crew, isn't it? Like 35, 40, and 45.
That was 35, 45, and 55.
I don't know. We can.
Yeah, I can.
NPC crew rating 214. This book is laid out like shit.
The worst. It's the worst.
Okay, incompetent is 20, competent is 30, crack is 40, veteran is 50.
There you go. So 30 versus 40 is about all you would get.
Well, that's okay. If we can boost them, but I don't see where the skill is or what we need to spend to increase it, because I don't know. I don't know what you start with.
You start with 30. Whatever.
Well, they start with competent. Yeah.
Competent.
But then if certain components you pick could also boost that up a bit too.
So we'd have to spend 5 of our existing ship points to get the next higher to get the crack. I don't know that we'd have enough then if we went with if we went with a raider over a frigate, we would.
Yeah. Well, I think if we have the Orion Clipper, it's only 25 points. So, well, actually, and we have the either the Viper sloop, which is 27, which doesn't really make a big difference.
Well, I think the sloop we've thrown out out of hand. The Clipper is a transport.
Yeah.
I would prefer to go with a Raider over a transport.
Yeah.
But because the transport's going to be slow with crappy detection, no maneuverability at all. They both have negative numbers for
Then we could go with the Protect Shrike class, which is a Raider. Still good speed.
Yeah.
Some maneuverability.
That has some kind of, I think that has Xenos on it, so we have to, I think that's the only thing with that one.
It does have a +5 to ballistic tests.
Yeah.
But it's kind of pricey at 34.
You just want to go.
We have it. I mean,
yeah, we go with the standard Raider and just rebuild it out ourselves. I guess that's the other option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could stat it out. I mean, it's just like building the Warrant. You just pick all your components.
Yeah.
So you go, was it Hazaroth is one? Or what was the other one?
The Havoc.
The Havoc, yeah.
I think the Havoc's a little better. It's got more space. It's got more armor. Its detection's lower by 2. Its speed's lower by 1, but its maneuverability is 2+.
Yeah.
Its hull integrity is 2 less, and it's got 35 ship points with 2 guns. Or I guess costs 35 ship points. And then that gives us enough left over. We can upgrade the crew. That puts them at 40. And then with my +10 puts them at 50.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not nothing.
That only gives us, 2 ship points?
Well, whatever ship points you don't use rolls in a profit factor, I think, technically, by the book.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that we still have to buy, our plasma drive and our warp engine.
All that stuff is under space. So there are some things that will cost you ship points. Like if we wanted to do a warp Spain hull, it would cost 2 ship points, which we technically have. If we wanted to put a command bridge, that would be +1. So we do have ship points to play with still.
Yeah.
Because we'd only be sitting at 39. We'd have 3 points to use.
True.
And some of the stuff just takes up space. It doesn't cost ship points, right?
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah, true. Not till you get to the supplemental stuff does it actually start to really cost points.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're either going to get better base components or fancy stuff, basically.
Yeah. I don't think we really deserve fancy stuff yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do we want to go with the
Havoc?
Yeah, the Havoc.
What page is that on?
Is page 195 in the core book. I mean, I'm not trying to steal your thunder with the sloop, but I think for the purposes it's not going to serve because of the size and everything else.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. To undermine all the work we put into this. No. Load, you bastard.
Yeah, I think that it gives us the best of all possible worlds, I think. And I think there's an option to increase the cargo hold, I think, if we have the space and whatever to do it. So, like the Clipper that you've got on there, we could potentially, if that's the way we want to go, is just increase the cargo area.
Because I think the Havoc, what does it say for space? It's got 40, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the price is to upgrade the crew.
It is 5. To go from, so that's on page 193. All ships start with a competent crew. The cost of the crew is included with the cost of the ship hull. If players wish to, they can gain an additional 5 ship points to spend on their vessel by downgrading the crew, which we are clearly not going to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, likewise, they can upgrade their crew to a crack crew, which gives you a 40 skill by spending 5 of their existing ship points. So since we're sitting at 42, it costs us 35. So that puts us at 40, gives us 2 points left over.
So does anyone else have navigate? Jesse, do you have navigate also, or?
He's got
I am
navigate.
all about navigate.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, maneuver. I'm pilot. I'm sorry.
Can
Yeah, did you have pilot also, or?
let's say I have pilot.
I would say I would worry. So navigate.
Basic
You
skill.
100. The crew cannot do that.
Well, so the
That is
navigate.
100% navigate.
Yeah, navigate would definitely be Jesse, but pilot could be either I or Jesse, or no?
It would be you. That
Okay.
the void master is the
Just pilot. Okay.
Or a crew member if you were doing something else.
Yeah.
So,
But
for
I think-
instance, if you want to do a maneuver, right, like evasive maneuvers or whatever, you could decide if you wanted to have a crew member actually piloting at, if you have a crack crew of 40, you could get 40, and then you could be doing your wet ballistics at 45 or
But I think
55.
it makes more sense if we have a crew at 40 and John has a +10, then I don't have to shoot anything. I just drive. Then that makes more sense. So.
I mean, I will agree that it's super awesome to have a crack crew. That's my preference, is to always spend that money or that ship point value, because having a +10 on everything you don't do is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's just
and the
me.
ship compact. Yeah, I was gonna say the ship combat is extended action combat. So like each turn is like a half an hour medical game time. So you're doing your best to keep everything moving. The ship you're juking and jiving, and I'd be yelling at the crew.
Yeah.
Everybody would have different extended actions that they could perform while we're doing ship combat.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I've almost always invested in crack crew when I made a ship, but that was just my preference because I felt like
Let's not do it.
if you need someone to do something at 30, that's never gonna fucking happen.
Yeah,
At
that's
40,
rough.
It might.
Yeah. And depending on how ship combat is, like you may get a turn where you can't shoot, so then I give that 10 to somebody else. So like maybe you can pilot better, or Jesse can jam transmissions better, or
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or you add it, maybe they can't. Yeah. Or maybe you just need to maneuver, right? Yeah, there's a lot you can do with that. But, maybe you don't want to burn those 5 points on crew and you want to burn it on, I don't know, an engine or thrusters. There's a lot of shit you can burn it on.
All right, so if we're going to go Raider and we're going to build this thing out, then under plasma drives, our only option then for power is the Jovian Pattern Class 2 drive. Rate 45 power, and it's going to cost 10 space.
No, we also have the Elite 2A.
Oh, out of the other book? Let me pull up, because I'm in the hull comparison. Let me go to the other sheet.
And we've got 40 space too, I think. So.
Yes.
Although the Jovian takes up much less space.
1 sec, I'll be right back.
10.
2 points.
You were breaking up. How much is the other one?
Sorry? The Lace gets us +2 ship points.
Costs us 2. If it's the same way as the core book is set up, I think the +1, I think it costs you that.
Yes.
So your P2, it'll cost you 2 ship points.
Oh, because they set it up different. They set it up weird where there's like pluses, but then there's also like costs 1.
I will look up in the book here real quick and see if it shows us that.
I just know, for instance, it says like the lathe pattern is an additional ship point. Plus means you have to spend an extra.
No, that's fine. All right, never mind.
And the lathe pattern too is it gives us a little bit more energy too, but it costs us 4 more space.
You wouldn't be able to do that anyway. Raiders can only have the Jovian 2, as far as I can see.
Well, he's got some of the other. This is in Battlefleet Chronos. It has an option for this lath pattern too, but I don't think it's worth the trade-off for 2 more energy.
Well, that would be
definitely don't.
Okay. All right. So that is going to cost us 10 space and 45 energy. Or 40 energy, I'm sorry, 45.
Well, that gives you that, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to keep track of what we have here.
So double check.
Yep. We went on to warp engines. Oh, let's see. So the Markov from, I think it's Into the Storm is the pink one, would take up 12. The Strevlov is 10 and 10 in the core book.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't cost us anything. How about, I don't have the other book open, the Miloslav.
That's what I'm trying to look.
Yeah, it's 8 and 10. Saves us a little bit of space, which would be fantastic.
And that's in Battlefield, right?
That one is colored tan, and you don't have a tan thing up in the
Coronis, I think it is.
legend.
Yeah, the Miloslav is Battlefleet Coronis. You would need the G616B, which is 8 power 10 space for a Raider or a frigate.
That looks like a better deal than the Strevlov.
Sorry, I thought I muted it.
I don't know if it's thing that tells me that would not be a thing. Just so you know, I want you to know. Oh, never mind. That's that one. Let me double check. Warp drive. There's usually some trade-off.
Right.
Yeah, see, I don't...
The Miloslav engines. Haste of the Damned. Reduce the duration of all warp passage by half. However, roll on the warp travel encounter every 3 days rather than every 5 days.
That kind of sounds awesome to me, but...
Here, these are rogue trader crews. You guys are afraid of the fucking warp.
I say we go with it, and we'll see. Like, if we've got tons of space left over afterwards, then maybe we swap it out so we don't have to roll quite as often. Because you could be in the warp for, like, weeks at a time to get from one place to the other, depending on how well you roll your navigation roll.
But it also makes it by half total.
That's true.
So there's that. So there is some benefit.
We do it. So we do it.
Question mark.
No, I think that's good.
You just really hope he doesn't botch a fucking roll. Because if he botches, there's going to be so many warp demons.
That is possible.
Yeah.
Fucking warp demons all up your bunghole.
Oh, let's see. So we're looking at a single void shield array, I guess, at 5 and 1.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know what their repulsor shield is.
Turn shield array, that's 3 and 1. Yeah, I don't know, the repulsor. So.
The repulsor was shit, is that what you said? Did you say the repulsor was shit?
It's
6 and 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's either the single shield or the 5 and 1, or the Voss Glimmer is 3 and 1.
What's the difference between the two? Can you look it up real quick?
Yep, looking up the I'm looking up the Voss now.
Yep. Deal. I have the other one open.
Wait, what are you looking at?
We are looking at void shields. There's an option for the Voss Glimmer pattern shield array.
Are you choosing standard Geller?
Do we skip one?
By the way, Geller fields are next, but just so you
Oops.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We have 2 for the Warpsbane. We could actually do that.
I don't know why. What's the Voss Glimmer doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. It says you cancel a hit from any source. Roll 1d10 on a 3 or lower. It overloads and doesn't cancel the hit. I'm not sure why that would be better unless it uses less power or something.
It uses less space.
And that's why you would want to do that. And then there's a triple void shield. Gives you 3 void shields. In the standard, you have a 2 void shield array, so you can avoid 2 hits. I don't know how much.
The triple is only there's.
Yeah, the triple was for a cruiser.
Ah.
And so is the multiple shield array. That's also cruisers.
Yeah, so you're either going to want the single or the Glimmer. It depends on whether you think you're going to roll less than a 3. That sounds real dangerous.
Yeah, I say we go standard on that one.
Yeah.
And do the 5-1.
Do you get something out of it? Space? Power?
The single shield array is like the standard.
Yeah,
It doesn't give you anything, doesn't save anything.
I didn't know if the Glimmer gave you something better.
Less space. So instead of 5 and 1, it's 3 and 1.
If I were you, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
On a void shield, you kind of want to always have that.
All right. So if we're going to go with the Miloslav, do we want to go with a Warpsbane hull? It gives you +10 to your navigation tests through the warp. And when rolling on warp travel encounters, the GM rolls twice and allows the navigator to choose which result is applied, which would be fan-fucking-tastic.
Says you. You don't know which one I choose.
I suppose that's true. We have the ship points to use. That would be it. But I don't see anything else that would require us to spend. Oh no!
Weapons all require points.
So we should hold off on spending.
Weapons and then backtrack, but that's you. All weapons require ship points.
So the Warpsbane
that's
just for
unfortunate.
warp, or is that for defense for anything? No, that's the question.
Just for driving through the warp.
Yeah.
Although if we have to spend ship points for guns, then I guess we're probably not going to do that.
Guns then.
What do you have on guns? What do you have left? 2?
2.
Basically,
we have 2.
On 1 gun each.
So
we have space for 2. So we can get everything except for the rises. So we can go the Sunseer laser battery, the Mars pattern macro cannon broadsides, Mars pattern macro cannons, Thunderstrike macro cannon. We wouldn't have a lance then. They'd all be macro cannons for the most part.
Yeah.
So did you go with the Maritech Strike class? Is that right?
You have it, Class Raider.
Have
Have it.
That was not on your list, motherfuckers.
That's what's in the book.
I'm just saying that was not on your guys' list of stuff you were interested in.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said thanks for throwing out all of the work that we put into it.
You guys are welcome. Yeah, you. So
Here's the other problem.
Dorsal or keel, they all basically, those can go like anywhere, circular pattern and above. Dorsal goes above, right? Anything like, level plane around it and above is fine.
Like a turret, I guess, would be almost
Yes,
like a turret,
the
right?
dorsal's a turret. The prow is mounted straight ahead. The only thing is prow lasers ignore. Oh, what am I? There's something they ignore. Lances ignore.
Is the armor of the hull?
Down, they ignore armor.
Yeah.
So macro batteries, you'll hit shield. So in theory, the optimal would be you hit with a macro battery to drop shields. And if you hit through the armor, that's great. And then you have a lance that basically just is like a precision laser that cuts through the hull and cuts through any armor. So you can either have macro batteries that just blow the fuck out of everything and you hope you get enough hits to make it matter, versus you never really can have just a lance because you got to have a macro battery to drop those shields.
The problem is,
here's the problem.
I was just going to say we can't do the lance if we take the crew because we won't have enough for macro batteries then. So
Which
we
is probably
can,
fine. I would recommend more macro batteries than lances, but that's, in my experience, I've never seen lances be...
Lances.
I've never seen
the other problem.
Great. I've used macro. I've seen double macro battery do better than macro battery lance more often than not. Just so you know.
Well, here's the other thing though. If we want a cargo hold, that also costs ship points.
Just about to say that. If we want to do any type of transporting shit, we're gonna need a cargo hold. Well, this. So this. Do we not
go with the
ship that?
You go.
No, it's gonna be. Do we want to swap out for a cheaper ship then? Ship point help to give us more, or do we want to drop the crew?
Well, we could go with the Hazaroth. We're not giving up a ton, and it saves us 5 points, so we could
that
keep
was what
the
I was
crew.
looking at originally because it gives you a bit more.
Yeah. So we can do that. We have a little less space to work with.
Where is that?
Fewer ship points.
Yeah.
They'll both go down by 5.
Which one did you say it was?
Hazaroth.
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 I mean, we could technically stat out both, but I think Neil's probably want to go to bed sooner than later.
I don't care. I'm right now to see. Basically, the cargo holds just kind of push you toward additional benefits mechanically. So, in a cargo hold, you'll get more reward than if you didn't for doing commerce missions or trade missions, basically.
So I guess in part of the game, and we've never really played this way, if you are on a mission, you can have an objective. So if you have a trade objective and then you have that hold, you can gain additional points towards your experience if you complete that mission and you have, those sort of things met. We've never actually played that way.
I know. So I don't want to discourage it. I will take that in consideration if you're running commerce missions versus military missions and things like that. I would give you additional bonuses for your rewards. But you will be able to undertake commerce missions with a standard ship.
Right.
A standard raider could haul cargo, for instance. But if you have like an additional cargo hold, then maybe I give you an extra profit factor or two of missions if you're hauling cargo.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting trade-off then. Yeah, because the ship is going to have a cargo hold on it.
Yes, you will be able to do a normal amount if you want. So don't think you can't take cargo unless you get a cargo hold. You don't need to pay for the cargo hold. The cargo hold would be, do you wager ship points to get more benefit from cargo hauling missions? Everything is going to be a trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, it's going to be what do you want to do, not necessarily can I. You'll be able to do any of this. If you want to get an army of 20,000 fucking militiamen to take a planet over, you can probably do that. You have enough space, for sure. You can find enough space. But if you had a barracks or some sort of extra crew hold, perhaps you could get better people. Perhaps that would make it easier. Or perhaps you could take it over faster, which means you get more profit because you're not trading off as much time. So I would say think about what you want to do. Or for instance, like the munititorium the munititorium, right? Maybe your crew is way fucking better. They're way badass at taking shit over because you have fucking crazy guns. The best guns. They're luxurious. The most luxurious guns. Like, right? So, like, you kind of got to think about what is it you want. So, imagine your ship is big enough to do, at baseline, everything okay. Right?
I think that's what we're aiming.
Extra stuff, what do you want to be good at? Think about what you want to be good at, not can we do it. You can have cargo, period. Do you get extra from cargo?
So I think right now we're in the decision of what Kevin brought up earlier is, do we want to be more rogue or more trader?
Yes, correct.
Rogue.
I would say that's a good thing to figure out.
Hit and run.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. So if we're going to have association of pirates, then I would probably say more rogue.
Yeah.
But because we're in Ascension, I can see us playing, both sides of the coin. Like, we could get goods from pirates that then we sell through legitimate means, which would be trading. So,
The other question you would maybe want to think about is, do you trade in bulk staples like wheat or iron? Or do you trade in specialty items like
Fancy stuff.
archaeotech,
Yeah.
where you need less space but more precision on where you're getting them from or negotiating the deals for? So let's say you go find planets that are ripe for the picking for fruits and grains and animals that you harvest. You might be able to do that, sure. Do you want to do that where you need a big cargo hold, or do you want smaller cargo holds where you're pulling out, I have this fucking laser gun that no one's ever seen before, that I'm selling to the Adeptus Mechanicus for a fuck ton, because no one's ever seen it before. Ever.
I would think probably more that way than whole goods trading, especially if we're dealing with pirates, because they're not going to be like, oh, here's some fucking grain. Give us some money, you can go sell it. Like, that's clearly not going to do that.
You could, but you may not deal with pirates for it, right? You might find a planet.
Yeah.
Find a planet that you make a mining base that maybe you make a lot of money from, but it's just fucking mine. You got to take a bunch of mining equipment there, and you got to fucking shunt a bunch of goddamn steel, iron, and fucking nickel and whatever else, right? It's just, do you want to be small amount of high value goods, large amount of low value goods? They're totally different things, but they're totally both valuable.
And I think for the most part, we would just sort of take it as we got it. Like, I don't, whatever situation we found ourselves in that we could take advantage of. So I think we would be okay with going either way.
So if we don't have big holds, even if we're hauling grain or cattle or whatever, it doesn't matter. We're going to do it no matter if it's a big haul or small haul. Or if we do a bunch of really fancy stuff, then, either way.
We're just not going to get extra XP for it, or extra profit factor, or whatever.
Yes, you may not get extra profit factor if you're like, oh, I got space that no one knew about that I'm delivering back to the Imperium. Maybe you get 3 instead of 5 profit factor from that. But at the same time, maybe you traded off guns that you used to fucking destroy the pirates that tried to raid those. Right, so it's all a trade-off, right? It's. I don't want you to think that you can't do something with the base ship. You can do it. It's just, if you want to specialize, I would recommend going one way versus another. Then you specialize in doing that, right? And you find those contracts, you find those opportunities, and you maximize that. But then you have to deal with people that go, oh, well, if they have the space cow trade, do I blow them out of the water and stop people from getting those space cows so I can take over their space cow plant? I don't know, but it's all going to be a balance of who do you want to be, who are you, what do you focus on, and what's basically your business plan. What's your business plan as a rogue trader operation? What do you do? What are you good at? How do you make your cash? And however you want to do that, I'm here to
fuck it all up.
Facilitate and obfuscate. That's my goal. Is to facilitate you being able to do that, but set up challenges for you to maybe not be able to do that so that you can overcome said challenges. So, I mean, that's why I'm excited about this game, because I feel like everyone here is very intensive, very into their motivations, what they want to do, why they want to do it. And so I feel like that breeds the best games, because everyone's playing an actual person who wants something. And so I feel like in this case you get the chance to not just say what your character wants, but mold your reality somewhat around that by creating the ship or the Warrant. And I think the Warrant has so many interesting things already that I can take a million directions off it alone. So I think that's awesome. I'm going to come up with a whole bunch of different adversaries and plot lines and stuff just from that. But I want to make sure, don't take a cargo hold because you think you can't take cargo if you don't have it, but you really want to just get a fucking army to fucking, flamer, just hose down aliens like a motherfucker. In that case, take something to hose down aliens with fucking flamers. Just, who cares? Who cares about cargo? You can take a cargo mission. But if you want to just fucking flamethrower aliens into oblivion, find that too. Do that. Because there's opportunity. You can always do that. There's a bunch of aliens with flamethrower into oblivion, guys. That's what
Space is full of them.
Destroying cultures. Rogue Trader is about destroying cultures and absorbing them into white people, Crackerland humanity. Hey, are you white Crackerville? You fit in the Imperium. Are you not? You're a Xenos, and you're out of here.
So we go with a ship that gets shit done no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get stuff done no matter what. But if you want to get shit done in a particular area, go toward that.
All right, well, while you guys are dicking around, I'm building 2 different ships here.
I actually think, honestly...
No, that's why I was fucking on them so much.
With what we're kind of going for, I think that the Hazaroth might be a better option than the Havoc anyway.
Yeah, it's less space, but you get more ship points.
More ship points, better detection, better speed, a little less maneuverability, but not much.
Yeah, it's like 2, I think.
2.
Yeah.
A little less space.
A couple fewer ship points. But that's all right. So I just totaled it up, and you guys don't need to choose these same things that I'm looking at. But we're looking currently at 26 space out of 35. So we have the Jovian pattern, class 2, gives us 45 power, take up 10 space. The Miloslav, 8 and 10. Single void shield's 5 and 1. Your standard, Geller field. If we're not going to spend the ship points, that's 1 and 0. I was looking at, and you can throw your 2 cents in. If we're going to have a crack crew, if we spend that money, and then we do take the command bridge, it'll cost us 1 ship point. It gives a +5 to ballistic skill tests, plus my 10%. Mm-hmm. So now we're up to 55.
55, yeah.
Okay. How many points does that leave us?
It leaves us. So if we take that 1, it leaves us with 4.
Oh wow!
Because the crew would take us up to 35, and then the command bridge would take us up to 36. Would leave us with 4.
What if I did something super crazy?
I love super crazy.
Because this is your game, guys. This is your legacy. If you want to spend your profit factor on components on your ship, you can do that. You're just going to spend your profit.
Actually,
you may have spent years retrofitting a ship to do exactly what you want. And you got to pay that price in profit. You don't have those resources. So if you want to spend some of that, it's your gig, guys. That's your gig.
Runecaster.
Well, we'd actually have 6 left.
What you want. Now, maybe that means you can't buy a fucking army of bolt fucking rifle outfitted Space Marines.
I think that's where we're going, though.
Yeah.
But if you need some profit, if you need some ship points, profit factor and ship points are a 1-to-1 ratio.
But I think we're still good because I calculated wrong. So the crew takes us to 35, the bridge takes us to 36, which means we still have 6 points left over to use. So that gets us guns or 1 apiece unless we go with a lance, which would be 2. And that gives us enough room. That gives enough ship points to add a cargo hold and whatever else that we want.
I actually think if we're going with the roguish, high priority, high profile, like going after high end value targets, maybe 2 micro cannons would be a good idea if we don't want to blow people up right away. Going with 1 micro cannon and 1 lance so that we can like micro cannon their shields down and shit, and then lance and like stable them instead of blowing them up.
We either have to go 1 and 1 or 2 macro cannons because we've only got 2 emplacements to work with.
Going 1 and 1. That's my.
That's definitely potential.
Can I do a couple small things? Just because I feel like this has to be done beforehand, and I'm rolling it randomly.
Okay.
So, for your machine spirit oddity,
Oh, no.
Oh, for the ship, yeah.
your ship, regardless of what you choose, this is your ship. Your ship is of a bygone age.
There you go.
And I think that makes sense. You inherited it during tumultuous circumstances. Having survived many millennia of voyages and adventures, its hull has weakened over the centuries, but it anticipates the needs of its crew and will move as one with a competent master. Negative 4 hull integrity, but plus 10 maneuver action, including out of combat and ramming. So you get a plus 10 maneuverability just because your ship knows. It's old, it's a little decrepit, but it knows how to get shit done.
Where did that?
That's a really nice maneuverability.
That's
Right.
a good, really, right? Right?
Like, gets us up 55.
But now I'm going to give you a past history. Let's give you a past history. By the way, if you guys don't like this roll, tweet Tondi. Tondi's roller .fuckeveryone.com.
Wow, the armored tab is for visitors only.
I think this is bullshit. I feel like I should roll a real die. Because okay, I don't know about this. I don't know about this, guys.
Oh, come on, do it.
Sometimes I wish you would.
I don't like it. Hold on. Tondi, you know what? Someone write Tondi. Tell him he's a butthole, and I'm telling him he's a butthole.
I hope that giant spider gets him.
Okay, I feel like this is more accurate. I think this might be better. Ooh. All right. Okay. I'm going to give you guys the choice. Do you want the new double roll, or do you want the second roll only to be the new roll? Because 2 10s is bullshit.
I don't know.
Just give me a minute.
What's 100? 100 is probably really, really bad, right?
So what I'm saying is 1 to 10, I got 2 10s. That's bullshit. So do you want the second roll accurate, and you want to keep the first 10 or not?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
I'm fine with keeping the original 10.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, so the first 10 stays. The second, the 10 can't stay. It's bullshit. Tondi, your roller is bullshit. And I'm not going to give some fucking Ordo Xenos plus Xenotech bullshit. Fuck you.
Oh, that was what we gave up? Son of a bitch.
No, you're not allowed to have the Ghost Shield. Fuck. Ghost Shield.
Damn it.
The Ghost. Anyway, turbulent past. This is your past history of your ship. Over the years, this ship has been used to perform deeds dastardly to some and heroic to others. That sounds right.
Makes sense, yeah.
The GM selects a social group: pirates, heretics, Imperial Navy, Inquisition, or inhabitants of an important locale like Footfall. All ships' crews suffer negative 20 social tests when interacting with that group. The GM then selects a second group naturally opposed to the first. All ships' crew gain plus 20 when interacting with that group. The additional problems that could arise from being hated by a particular group of people are limitless. So, you choose one group who hate you, and then I choose the group opposite of that. And they love you. I love this idea.
We hate the ecclesiarchy?
Yeah, wait, what?
Just kidding.
I'm looking up the peer talent to see what the groups are here.
Yeah, see what the groups are, because yikes.
All right, so what we're looking at for talent groups: academics, adeptus arbites, which I guess is kind of like the police, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's the basically the police, yeah.
Adeptus mechanicus, administratum, astropath, ecclesiarchy, feral worlders, government, hivers, inquisition, middle classes, military, nobility, the insane, underworld, voidborn, and workers. These are all under the peer talent. So
all those are for a game. Unless you
I don't know.
Better.
Well, I don't know if you want to throw pirates into that mix as well, or if we're just going to keep that as underworld.
Sir, pirates are fine to go into the mix, yeah. Because they would be kind of the opposite of the Adeptus Arbitus.
So how about we go that way, right? So we get plus 20 for pirates, which is going to help us in our business. But then we're going to get minus 20, like come into port and they're like, oh, you look familiar. What are you doing here?
Makes sense.
That's your call.
Which I think it would lead to some interesting role play because every time we come into port, we would have a problem. Potentially.
That depends. Do you mean Footfall or do you mean Port Wonder? Footfall.
I guess Port Wonder.
Footfall, yeah. No, because rogue traders technically run that station. I just read that. So Footfall is the station on the side of Coronis Expanse. Port Wonder is on the Imperium side. So whoever the highest ranking rogue trader is technically in charge of Footfall. Okay. Now, as a middle-aged warrant, you're basically 50-50 on whether your warrant outranks anyone else's warrant. So, just to tell you that. I just want to let you know that you, as of how you've chosen, would identify as slightly higher ranking than a number of rogue traders. At least 50.
I like it. That's good.
Which means you are in charge of Footfall 50% of the time. Just so you know. I'm just throwing it out there as that's what could happen.
I like it.
So we took plus 20 pirates. What was the minus 20 against?
The Adeptus Arbites. If that's what Neil's going with.
Yeah, I would say, you add 20 to pirate interaction. And you subtract 20
from the police.
Adeptus Arbitus.
That's nice. So with my base fellowship at 50, we're already at 70 negotiation with pirates. plus
You're probably going to be real illegal as fuck. The police basically hate you.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a good word for the profiling that takes place against rogue traders with your particular warrant of trade.
No, it's okay.
Well, they don't love you. Let's just say they don't love you.
That's all right. We have missionaries, so I don't care what they think.
Oh, the Arbiters don't give a fuck, but you could probably appeal the ecclesiarchy as long as they wanted to. If they wanted to execute you, just appeal the ecclesiarchy. You're probably okay.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm figuring.
All right. So, what else do you guys? So, you guys are building. Are you down to the bridge? What are you going for the bridge?
Yeah, well, I suggested command, but that's up to how you guys want to proceed. It gives us a bonus on ballistic skills. So if we're going to be legal as fuck and we're going to do a lot of shooting.
I was going to do the fluff with the antiquity, but I think the command sounds better.
Yeah.
Going all the way down to the xenotech.
Well, I don't think we're allowed any xenotech.
Nope. Fuck Xenotech. Xenotech makes my life the worst.
All right. So that'll cost us 1 ship point. So that leaves us with 6. Life sustainers. I figure whatever the standard one is in the book, it's a 3 and 1.
So just so you know, the Mark 1 life sustainer, all morale losses are increased.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
The Vitae pattern is just standard. Just so you know. Just want to.
All right. So we'll go Vitae. It's 4 and 2.
It's up to you.
So we got 4 left then?
No, it costs 4 power and 2 space. So
2 left. Is that what we said? Or no?
As far as space,
no,
I think we're still.
I thought you were saying ship points. My fault.
No.
Yeah.
All right. So crew quarters then. Do we want to go with Voidsman's quarters? Just the standard. That's a 1 and a 3.
Yeah.
Could go Bilge Rat.
Voidsman, straight up. Pressed crew quarters has permanently reduced morale by 2. Just so you know. So that would.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Yeah, and the other ones, the clan kin and the cold.
Points.
Yeah, I didn't think it was worth the trade off. All right. So augur. Go ahead. No.
I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. So for augur array, do we want to go with the second one, the M201B augur array? Costs 5 power, no space. It's on the outside. It's the standard, I think. No, it's the modified version of the Imperial Navy standard sensor. Yeah.
You get a +5 to ship detection with the standard. The other options would be a +5 to maneuver, but subtracts a -2 from detection, and you get extra points for exploration objectives. There's that. The Deep Void Array
has +10 to detection.
+10 to detection. Yeah.
But it costs us a ship point, and it's got 7 power.
Correct.
I would say the 201B, right?
We have enough maneuverability.
Yeah,
I don't think we have much.
Yeah.
I would
Okay,
agree.
so the 201. All right, so then we move on to guns. So I was looking at some of the alternate options. The Pyros Melta cannons. So the way that, if I remember correctly, the way that crits work, you have to roll that number or that number of hits to create a critical.
Yeah.
So like for your regular Morse pattern macro cannons, which is your standard, the crit is a 5. So you'd have to hit 5 hits before you hit crit. The Pyros Melta is only a 4. The range is not as good, so you'd have to get closer, but your chances of critting increase. And it actually does a little bit more damage. It's a 1d10 plus 4, where the Morse pattern is 1d10 plus 2.
Where do you see that?
That one is in Into the Storm. It's page 160?
John, why are you coming up with
159.
Why do you not anticipate what I have open? I'm kidding, it's fine.
And they also have maybe a nicer lance in here, too.
This is bullshit. Damn you! Damn you! This is why they got rid of this property, because they don't know how to manage it.
I was actually looking at the last burner for the lances. It gives a +5 to opposed command tests to resolve boarding actions.
That's
So if we're looking at being more of a raider type,
Which one was that one?
Last burner.
last burner, it's in the Coronas.
Oh, God damn, I don't have that one open.
Oh, nah, eat that, motherfucker. I just fucking beat your shit up. To be fair, you're at a bit of a disadvantage with
That's why I was going to propose that we get an armor now.
with no
Ram.
militant, boarding actions are slightly less
Effective.
An arch militant would help a lot if you are going to board frequently.
Mm.
Boarding is great if you can do that. But if you don't have anyone who's particularly amazing at it, like an arch militant who's basically a general, it is slightly difficult unless you're really, really working hard.
Well, we
Alright,
could go
I'm
with the
gonna-
murder servitors.
Oh, murder servitors! That's just zombie murder town. That's the best. If you have the points for murder servitors, just fucking get them and throw them on a ship, and they basically just murder and rape everybody. It's the best.
I'm gonna throw it a wild here. So with the path that we are currently taking, what is more important to us? A navigator or an arch militant?
Well, we can't. Well, you can. We can NPC a navigator, I guess, more easily than an arch militant. Like if we wanted to do a boarding action or something, that would be a much more active process. A navigator you can get to just make the rolls. If we're going to stay with the engine that we took, that could potentially be bad for us because an NPC is not going to have the ability to roll under the numbers that you're potentially going to have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, we don't have to board. I mean, we can incapacitate, and I don't know if narratively, like, okay, your ship is incapacitated, we're going to take it, and then negotiate terms or whatever.
It's more like you blow the fuck out of it at that point, but yeah.
I mean, if you want to add ships to your...
surrender, you're just going to blow the fuck out of it. Basically. I mean, you might be able to salvage. Okay, you're not going to blow it up to that point that it's not worth anything. right? If you blow up another raider, that's worth some percentage of a raider, right? Because you're going to tow it to a towing yard. They're going to fucking retrofit it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, everyone's dead and a bunch of stuff blew up. Fair enough, right? But it's worth a lot. If you can dismantle an entire ship, that's pretty good. It's worth a lot. Most people can't do that. A rogue trader could probably do that. Maybe. If you're good.
Oh, I'm good.
I mean, you have a pretty good crew, so you could probably pull something into a dry dock and get some points from that. But at the same time, you probably have to be ready to do that. You have to also be, more than just like blowing it to the fuck. You can't just blow it all to fuck and be like, hey, I pulled this stuff here, so this 30 ship point ship is worth 28 ship points, right? Like, well, no, you blew it all to fuck, so probably for a couple ship points. We got to put a lot of work into it, but we'll revamp it to some degree. Depends on what you're using. Macro batteries, that blows shit up like crazy.
Well, especially if we go with the melta ones.
Like, I think the Sunhammer lands, I think that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, the Sunhammer lands, that's fucking crazy.
That's only a D10 plus 3. The range is huge, though. Oh, the crit rating's only 3, too.
Yeah, right? Like, some of those lances are just fucking, like, nuts balls. Like, nuts.
Yeah, they're all 3s.
Yeah, like, the Sunhammer lance is kind of broken. If you can get it to hit after the shields go down, after the void shield goes down, it just shreds a ship to nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends, right? It depends on what you're doing and how you're making your cash. You could just disable something, get them the fuck out of there. Go get your shit, right? Go take your ore, go take your planet, go take your whatever.
All right, well,
your channel.
Let's start with the macro batters, right? So if we're going to do both, do we want to go Melta? It's a 4/3, and it's going to cost us 2 ship points. Where the Mars macro cannons, it's going to cost us 1 ship point. It's a little less damage, a little harder to crit with, a little better range.
Yeah, but if we have good maneuverability, that means we can get closer, right? Is that
true?
Isn't it essentially work like a ship's dodge, if I remember correctly? We didn't do a whole lot of ship combat.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Maneuverability is more of a dodge, yeah. Speed, theoretically, could get you in and out faster.
I mean, if you guys want to go standard, I'm fine with that too. I think the crit, it's the number of successes, which is equivalent to the number of hits, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, like for the Mars pattern macro cannon, you'd need 5 degrees of success to crit. Well, with the plasma, you only need 4.
So if you're rolling 55, you need to get a 5 then to get the 5 degrees.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
so
why,
for
instance, a macro battery plus lance theoretically can do more damage because the lance is only a crit on 3.
So is that standard macro cannon then a lance then to give us the best of both worlds? Is that what we're saying, or?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're looking at, doing one of each.
Yeah. Well, I say do that then, because then you have a better chance of getting it instead of putting it all in one or the other. Because the chances of you rolling a 5 on a 55.
All right, so we're looking at the
Mars pattern.
Pyros Melta-Cannons then? Well, that's what I was saying. The Melta-Cannons are
4.
1d10 plus 4 with a crit of 4.
4. Yeah. Instead of 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, may or may not make a difference with the numbers that we're rolling, but it gives us a little bit better odds.
Well, I think that the ship points are the same, so you might as well do that then, right?
No, the Melta is oh no, it is 1.
It is 1, yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I believe strength means the number of hits. So I believe strength is the number of hits you can inflict if you don't crit. So let's say you fire on the Titan Forge regular lance. The crit rating is 3, but you can only hit once.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the battery, you can hit twice, but you still need to hit 3 times to crit.
That sounds about right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you're looking at the Titan Forge, where is it? Titan Forge, or the Melta-Cannon, the strength is 3 and the crit rating is 4. So if you crit, and then you still get 3 hits. But if you get 3 hits alone, you still get 3 hits. If you get 2 hits, you still get 2 hits. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. So, like, the strength is the number of independent hits you're still allowed to get outside of the crit. Once you crit, you get some crazy damage.
Right. Well, for the macro batteries in the core book, they're both 3 as well, so we don't lose anything there by going with the Melta-Cannons.
No, you don't.
But it is 2 ship points.
Yes. There might be a different 1d blank plus whatever, 1d10 blank plus blank.
Yeah.
You might get that extra, but yeah. So it's definitely a balance of how you're going to do your damage.
So are you guys okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
So that takes us up.
I was looking at whatchamacallit, never mind. Go ahead.
You are all sorts of choppy.
I'm pretty sure that's just me peeking.
Were you looking at the disruption macro cannons?
That's it, yeah. But they can only be done on starboard or whatever, so
okay.
they can only be installed on stuff we don't have. So
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right, so we're going to take that one as the macro. So what do you want to do as the lance?
You were saying Sunhammer, right? Wasn't that the one you were saying?
I suggest Lance Pass.
It's a 9 and 4. It costs 2 ship points. You can do it. Does 1 hit, but that's what you'd expect from a lance anyway.
Yeah, Lance will always do 1 hit, but it ignores armor unless you use a battery. The Sunhammer battery does 2 hits. And both ignore armor.
I don't know if we'd have enough power for the other one. The battery's 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you got left. It's pretty rough.
So a 942 ship points. All right, so let me add it up real quick, see what we're sitting at with power. We're sitting at 39 out of 45.
Yeah.
So we could, but that doesn't leave us a whole lot of power for any other things that we might want to put on here.
Luckily, we don't have much.
Yeah, that would leave us with 2.
I mean, there's a lot of extra shit you can do, but it just depends on what you want to do.
Let's leave it with the 9 for now, and then look to see what else we want to add, if anything. Because we could do the murder servitors.
So the restriction here is the power, then, right?
We're moving into that phase, yeah.
So what about the Starbreaker then? How much do you lose if you gain 3 extra power back because it's only 6? What do you lose compared to Sunhammer?
Let's see.
1d10 plus 3 versus 1d10 plus 2, right? And
yeah, they're both at a
range
3.
Yeah, I guess the range is really what you're losing, 5 versus 9.
But that's not so bad because our range on the Melta is only 4 anyway.
So you go Starbreaker and then you save that extra power for something else then maybe.
We could. Yeah, you're not giving up a whole lot. I mean, we can see whether or not we run out, too. I mean, like I said, we can leave the 9 for now, and then if we're like, oh, no, we want this, this, and this.
Then you can get the 3 back from that.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, you could do Municitorium, which is any military objective, you get some additional achievement points, but then all macro batteries gain +1 to their listed damage. If a component is damaged explodes, the ship takes 2d5 damage to the hull. And a component is set on fire. So it depends on, there's some stuff like that that's like, oh, that sounds great. Oh, wait, but if that explodes, that's not great.
Well, here's the thing. I just added up our ship. I just added up the space. We're at 34 of 35. So we can add one thing that only costs us 1 space, or we could just go ahead and upgrade that to a battery, because then we'll have power. Takes up 2 more space. That would max us out then. I think that would take us up to our 35.
Yeah. There we go.
Or we could go all macro cannons.
So the only thing left, I think, would just be any of the stuff that we want to put extra, like was it observation or murder servitors or librarium? I think that's pretty much anything left, right? So, do we want to trade off some of that fluff versus some of the crunch, or?
Well, I mean, murder servitors are always nice. But that would max. I mean, that would be it then. I mean, we have 1 ship point left, so we could totally do it with what we currently have on here. The problem is your drive. So the Jovian Pass pattern engine, and then the Miloslav. That's 20 points already. Which makes sense.
And I mean, for a Waker, you can't get much better in terms of power.
Yeah. Unless we went with the Havoc, but then you're not going to upgrade the crew. Like this allows us to upgrade the crew.
What do you think we need?
Mm-hmm. And actually, we couldn't do the battery because that would take us to 36. So we've got 1 point of space to spend.
So then it's murder servitors or something like
Armor.
Or yeah, we can do armor.
It would increase the armor by 1, but our maneuverability by 2 to do armor plating.
Mm.
I don't think we have to worry too much about armor, though. Aren't we pretty maneuverable that we can get away? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that leaves either like murder servitors or something else like the shrine or trophy room or something like that, right? Is that the trade-off then?
Yeah, I'm looking at the cargo holds. So the smallest one is luxury passenger quarters. It's not really all that helpful.
I mean, you can trade profit factor.
Basic
Or
cargo.
you can roll your ship points into profit factor. If you have stuff left
Well, at
over.
this point, we're running.
Yeah, we're out of space. We're not out of ship points.
Yeah. So it's, if you're out of ship points / space, and or if you want ship points, you just trade profit factor.
So is it armor or creepy zombies? Isn't that the choice then?
Yeah, I think so.
One,
We can do crew reclamation facility.
Which is turning everybody into creepy zombies then, right?
Pretty much.
Well, food.
Oh, is that the food
No, you're right. It is servitors. Yep.
servitor?
We could do a temple shrine to the God Emperor. It would increase the morale by 3. If we were working towards a creed objective, we would gain 100 extra achievement. Librarian Vault. The investigation skills plus 10. Well, the trophy room, when working towards an exploration, trade, or criminal objective, the players earn an additional 50 achievement points. Observation dome, exploration objective, be an additional 50 points. Cure for claustrophobia, increase morale by 1.
we could get an energy conversion maker. Whatever the hell that is.
So is it we have just one space left then? That's what the...
Yeah.
What is a teleportarium?
Isn't that is that Xenos or...
That's a way to teleport people onto another ship without using shuttles, basically. But I don't believe you have an archaeotech option.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's the
archaeotech.
archaeotech, I think, is the issue.
But those are nice.
I said that would be really handy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say you can either roll your ship points into profit factor, or you have to choose something like reinforced bulkhead. Yeah, stuff that's like simple.
Well, like I said, our limiting factor is space. We've only got 1 point to spend.
Yeah.
So we couldn't even do the reinforced bulkheads.
Really.
Unless we didn't do the melta guns and we did like a standard a standard macro cannon battery, because I think it would save us like 1 space, which would free up 2. Space for a Mars pattern macro cannon, which I think is the standard, is 2, and the melta cannons is 3.
Wait, how many ship points do you have?
We have ship points 30.
Wait,
Well, you're talking about space. 35 for space.
wait, to spend? Wait, what? How many ship points do you have available?
So the ship itself we have 42 total to spend.
Yep.
The ship is 30. We did 5 for the crew. That puts us at 35.
Yeah.
We did 1 for the bridge. That's
Yep.
36. For the Melta cannons, it's 38. And then the Sunhammer is another 2, would take us to 40.
Okay.
2 left. The murder servitors would cost us 1, which would leave us 1. Or if we went with the Mars pattern cannons, we would get a ship point back from that and a little bit more space. So if you wanted to do either reinforced interior bulkheads or cargo hold in lighter bay, we could.
There's also defensive measures, which could, depending on what we're going for, could be nice.
Oh, like the Tenbro maze.
That's your guys' call.
Well, if we're going to try to not be getting boarded, if we're going to try to hit and get away, then I don't know about reinforced interior. If that's worth it.
That's true.
Is it worth it more for firepower or something else like the murder servitors or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to be we're not going to be the boarding, so then it can go the other way, or they're boarding us, so we're going to hit them and get away. It might be better just to spend it on firepower then.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, we don't have to fill that 1 point, I don't suppose.
Can you convert that to profit then, or
that rolls a profit? So
yeah.
Those are interchangeable.
Yeah. So maybe do that and then roll whatever's left over into the profit factor.
So if you really want, you could spend profit factor to get more ship points. It's up to you. Space will be your limiting factor.
Yeah.
In that case.
That's where we're at. Well, do we want to just do... So if we do the murder servitors, it takes us to 0 on our ship points. We'll be even.
Yeah.
It'll use that last space. We'll have a little bit of energy left over. I suppose that we could probably use them on our own ship. I mean, it says they're for hit and run, but if we got boarded, I can't see why we couldn't turn them loose.
Yeah.
And be like, don't shoot the guys that are wearing green or whatever.
Once I just looked up the defensive measure, and basically it's a single use, but it's a -20 to ballistic skill tests, and a negative if they're using torpedoes suffer a -30. So it looks like it actually says it's like it deploys like reflectors and thermal buoys. Kevin? Everyone else dropped.
We'll see what happens.
John drops.
No? Oh, maybe. Oh, all right. And Neil.
Yeah, everybody else still here.
What?
Neil? Oh.
No, he's here.
Dear God.
Oh, everything's all black on the screen. There's John.
He's
Well,
back.
they all say, you're dead. Your character's dead. Goodbye.
Yeah, I have no idea what just happened.
You're
But,
out.
yeah.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Oh man.
Shut up. Shut it. Shut up. You're all
Oh.
dead. Anyway, what are we doing? What's your...
All right, so are we doing murder
God.
servitors or no? Like that's like I think that's our last question then.
Yeah, what the hell?
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's fine. Everything seemed reasonable.
Okay, so that's 1 and 2. So we have 0 ship points left. We have no space left, and have about 5 extra energy. And if you want, Neil, I can compile this all on a spreadsheet and send it over to you. Well, actually, I'll post it in the drive for everybody.
Yeah, that'd be good, just in case. But energy is probably less critical. But yeah, if you use all your ship points and everything, your profit factor is still 51. So
that's okay.
And if you have energy left, then so it happens. That's what you guys have to enjoy.
And we can reroute power.
Hey, run a subroutine through the. I don't know. Star Trek always runs subroutines through the. Whatever that dish is on the front of it. God damn it, guys. I don't remember.
The deflector dish?
Yes. Run a subroutine through the deflectors. Something. If you guys didn't put a LuxNet, so you're over.
Holtzman engine.
I don't know what a LuxNet is, but it's on the list. And a mine layer bay. And a power ram. If you guys don't power ram someone's butthole, game's over. Game's over. Over. Guys, if you guys don't buy a power ram and say I power ram that guy's butthole, I quit.
Maybe we should probably wrap things up here then.
You're welcome, internet. Having fun. Come on.
We are totally trashing the concept.
A pretty good job until 12:54 at night. Come on. I did good until that.
Yeah, I was going to say we should probably give like a time so people know that it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
My butthole. That's your butthole exploding.
See, now the question is, do I leave this in or take it out?
Yeah, leave it in.
Leave it in. Leave it in. Hey, if The Walking Dead can show someone's face getting fucking beat to a goddamn brainy pulp, then spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying a guy a person got his head beat in so that guts were hanging from brains were hanging from a baseball bat. I'm just saying, buttholes go. That's all I'm saying. Like,
this is why we had a hard stop
that's
at
way
midnight.
better. Here's the thing: you want your face bashed in or your butthole to go? Anybody? Put a poll up. Facebook poll. Do you want your head bashed in or your butthole go? Ooh. Which one is it? John, edit this. Put it in there. 1 o'clock. Tired.
Yeah.
You can't go to 1 o'clock without me being tired. I just say dumb shit.
Well, so we'll preempt you and we'll tell people thanks for checking this out. It will probably only get worse from here, so buckle in.
Better.
It won't.
Okay, it'll be better.
If you think yourself as at all tolerable, this will be equally as tolerable. That's what I can say. Look, I'm excited. I have some ideas. I have some cool stuff coming. I'm not going to talk about buttholes getting widened. I'm not going to talk about Walking Dead. I'm just going to talk about the Emperor's will in my hand, crushing those who decide to go against said Emperor's will. But if the sessions go to 1 o'clock every night, I'm going to say dumb shit. I'm probably going to kill most of the characters.
Every time.
So,
Fuck every session. I want to see what happens.
All fucked. You know what? This is all your buttholes. That's your buttholes.
This isn't we are pushing 2 for our first session. I want to see how this goes.
No, we're gonna have fun. Come on. I'll take it seriously once it's not episode 0. Episode 0, you know what a 0 looks like? Oh. I just did.
All right, that's it. We're cutting it. We're cutting it.
Episode 0, episode butthole. I just did it. You know what? I will get seriously less drunk and seriously much cooler for the first session of the actual role playing. Come on, guys. I got it. Trust me, I ran like a fucking 2 years, 3 years of this shit. I got it. But also your butthole.
And
John.
good night.
Title of the episode, your butthole's gonna like do it. Good stuff.
Thanks for checking it out, everybody. We'll catch you next time.